Hello friends, so welcome to this lecture. So in this particular demo, we'll see how we can configure alerts using the Azure Monitor service. So we'll go to the Monitor tab onto the left or Monitor service. So just above the metrics, there is a tab called as Alerts. So if you click on Alerts, you'll get the option to choose a new alert. So let's click on a new alert, and then when you need to configure an alert like we configured the metrics, we always need to define a resource on which we need to configure the alert, or we need to define the scope. So here basically we'll need to work on three things. So these are pretty simple, like in hierarchy. Definitely, if we want to set something, create a rule, basically we need to create a rule on something. So that is basically the resource where we need to set an rule. So the second thing which comes in condition, that okay, what should be the condition, what should be the logic when that alert should be set. So that is the condition we'll be defining. Then now if that condition has been met, to whom should be notified and how you want to be notified, or what kind of action to be taken, like create an snow ticket, right? Or if there is an integration with the snow, or send an SMS, send an voice email, or let's say there should be an you can say that a logic app has been configured for that. So there are different functions or different actions you can take depending on your requirement. So we'll work on three things over here. That okay, first of all we'll set a resource. So in this particular demo, I'll select a basically the SQL server. So I'll use the same free trial subscription we have, and then we'll choose our SQL server. So here we have our SQL servers, and then so let me select our SQL database we have, because mm, we have one or two SQL databases. So let me select the SQL databases, all locations. So these are the SQL database we have, SQL DB 389, which we used in one of our demo. So I'll select that. Now we have selected our resource, which is our first step. Now the second step is we need to define the condition or the logic when the deadlock should occur. So let's say for a simple example, if I would have chosen the VM, then in VM you can choose that okay, if the memory utilization is more than 90% for let's say 5 minutes, then send an alert. So similarly we can set a logic for our like we have the CPU percentage, similarly database input output percentage, and data space used, successful connections, if failed connections. So let's say we'll choose a deadlock option. So I'm not sure if you are from a database background. Deadlocks from a performance monitoring in case of your SQL database is very important, because it could have a greater impact onto the user performance or application performance, and more frequently if it occurs, it could have much more impact later on. And let's say if you're not aware about the deadlocks, deadlocks are a certain kind of you can say, or deadlocks occur when basically there are two processes. Let's say this is some database and users are trying to, or there are two processes basically who are trying to write database to a particular table, and this table has been logged within this database, has been logged by one of the processes. So a kind of, you can say, a logged situation wherein neither of the transaction would proceed or can move forward, and each one is waiting for the other to release that particular lock. So, it's a kind of a performance metric or a condition which database administrators would always like to monitor. So, we'll choose the deadlock. So you can search into internet about the deadlock on more for more information. So alert logic. So there are two options you have. One is static and one is dynamic. So let's say in static you'll get all these options, but in dynamic you get other options like for how many time you want to ignore alerts and all those things. You can, if you click on dynamic, so you can set a granularity like we set it here, and you get an advanced setting option wherein you can set alerts. Let's say number of violation, at least four should be there in time minutes, four aggregated points. And then let's say if you know that okay, some kind of activities was being performed, you can ignore the data for that time period. You can set the date and all those things, and at what hour, what minute, all these information you can provide. So we'll choose a static over here, and we'll say, let's say if the my deadlocks are greater in total, or you can say in count, threshold value I can provide 10, and I'll say let's say in 15 minutes, and check for every minute, and if the deadlocks are greater than 10, then someone should be notified or administrator should be notified. So this is the condition we have set when the deadlock is greater than 10. Now we need to select the action group who will take an action or the action we want to take, and we'll choose, let's say we'll create a new activity group, a new action group. So let's say action group would be DB admins and database admins, and then the short name would be, I would say, deadlocks and deadlocks for DB, and then resource group default activity log alerts to be created, or you can use I'll choose the resource group which we already have. And then the action group name would be who will be taking action groups. So I would say DB admins, and then action type, what kind of actions we would like to take. Like we discussed, you can use the automation runbook as your function you can use, and then email, SMS, ITSM, if there is an integration with the Snow, you can trigger an logic app. Like all these informations are there, and depending on your requirement, you can choose that. So if you, let's say if you'll choose this particular option, email, SMS, then you need to provide that email address and SMS, that okay, uh, who all want to, let's say, be notified. Let's say if I'll use this VKS underscore secure at the rate outlook.com, right? So in that case, this particular user will be notified. I can provide this user mobile, and then to whom the SMS will go, and then we can set the Azure push notifications as well, Azure account email. We can send a voice message as well. So all these different options are there. So let's say we'll set an email. Okay, short name Max. So deadlocks DB will provide. Okay, and then we'll set. We have already set the action group now, and similarly, if you'll set an ITSM, you need to provide all the details over there. So this is how we can configure a alert. So it will take few minutes. So in this way, you can set alerts for the different services in case of Azure. So now, hope you have the better clarity how we can set the metrics and alerts in case of Azure. So this is it, friends, in this lecture. Thank you for watching this lecture. Meet you in the next lecture. Thank you.